Hi everyone, I'm Faye. Welcome to my channel. This is not a video I initially intended on making, but I've begun to feel like it's an important one to make. Now, the reason I started this channel is just for fun, you know, it's escapism, it's just a nice little hobby, and it's partly a distraction from my illness. It's something that even when I'm ill, I'm inside the house, I can do it without going anywhere, and that's nice for me. But I didn't create this as a platform to talk about my illness. That was not really my intention, but I am going to today because I'm going to do a very, very old tag. I remember watching this so long ago when Nikki Tutorials first did it. It's the power of makeup. So join me today while I apply makeup to half of my face, look very weird, and talk a little bit about what makeup means to me. Okay, primer first. I'm going to use the L'Oreal Infallible Mattifying base on my T-zone. I'm going to put makeup on the left side of my face today, so I'm just going to put a few dots of this around and rub those in. I like this primer, it's very silky and it doesn't feel really heavy like some silicone primers do. So basically, and you'll have experienced this if you are a makeup loving person like me, there is a kind of judgment that comes when you enjoy playing with makeup. It's the kind of assumptions that you're vain or shallow or you're dumb in some way, or that you're just obsessed with the way you look, or you apply lots of makeup because you don't like the way you look, or because you're insecure, or because it's for boys. And there's that attitude of like, well, why spend your time and money on makeup, right? So people think, well, why don't you just spend more time and money doing something more important, like something that helps people, I don't know, politics, charity work. But, you know, everyone has hobbies that aren't about saving the world. And makeup, you know, it does help people, and it helps me. I'm going to talk about that a little, but first I'm going to mix up my base. Oh, no I'm not. I'm going to put a bit more primer on. Forgot about that. I'm going to use the Bourjois Sculpt Light on the highlighty kind of areas of my face. So I'm going to go on my cheekbones with this. Ooh, a big lump just came out, that was weird. I must not have used this in a while. Just to add a little bit of glow before I start putting my base on. There's going to be more glow in the base. I'm all about, you know, the glowy, highlighty kind of look. Okay, now I'm going to do my base. I'm going to take the NYX Pro Foundation Mixer. This is 02 Luminous. Squirt with that. Oh, more came out than I was intending. Never mind. I keep forgetting that I'm only doing half my face. So I'm like pumping the amount of product onto my hand that I'd use for two sides, and then I'm like, wait, why did I do that? Okay, this is the Revlon Colorstay. The shade is Buff, and this is the normal to dry version. So a little pump of that. And then I'm going to mix those two together and apply them with my finger and blend out with a sponge. Now, makeup. How does it help me? I mean, let's get into that a little bit. I have chronic fatigue and I have fibromyalgia. So these are conditions which cause a lot of exhaustion, like not just normal tiredness, but I'm talking mind-numbing, can't think, can't move, can't do anything, can't speak a sentence kind of exhaustion. And the fibromyalgia causes chronic pain. It's classified as a neurological condition. Basically, my muscles, well, not my muscles, my nerves send pain signals to my brain for no reason. So I get pain in my muscles even though I haven't done the thing and I haven't injured myself. They just hurt for no reason, which kind of sucks. Now, I became ill when I was 15 and I'm almost 27, so that's a pretty long time. When I hit 30 in 3 years' time, that will be half of my life that I've been sick and half of my life that I've been healthy, whatever that means. I mean, don't get me into the definition of what is sick and what is healthy, because I get very, very political and I talk about capitalism and we don't want to go there. This is a makeup video. We're doing the power of makeup here. I have no idea if this is blended. Seems okay. My makeup might not go the best today just because I'm going to be concentrating more on talking than on actually applying the makeup, but hopefully there won't be any unblended patches. So yeah, I don't really remember what healthy feels like anymore, but that doesn't make feeling ill suck any less, you know. It kind of sucks just the fact that I can't remember what it's like to wake up and feel like I have energy, etc. But you know, that is what it's like to have chronic fatigue, and it's just something that you have to learn to live with and to deal with on a daily basis, because there is no pill that a doctor can give you that can fix it. Okay, I'm going to move on to a little colour corrector for the dark circles. A lot of people have dark circles. Some are genetic. Some people genetically have darkness under the eyes. Me, I don't have genetic dark circles. My dark circles are just from tiredness. Sometimes they're kind of a purpley or greenish colour, like almost like a bruise type colour under my eye. And sometimes I get redness around my eye just from being very, very tired. My eyes get a bit bloodshot and I get some redness. And so sometimes I use a green colour corrector, but today I'm going to stick with the traditional Salmon under the eyes. This one is from Skin Food. It's their Salmon Dark Circle Concealer. And I'm going to use this with a finger. I find these sort of thicker colour corrector formulas work better with the warmth of your hand. Well, I say warmth of my hands are freezing all the time, but still it works better, I think, with this than with the sponge. And I'm just patting this in where I need it, just into that inner corner and down over my under eye. Okay. I'm not going to go straight in with concealer because I'm going to let that dry down a little bit before I put concealer over the top. So while that dries down, I'm going to go in with a little cream bronzer. This is very mucky, please excuse how dirty this is. This is another L'Oreal product. It's their cushion bronzer. And it looks like a traditional cushion. I've taken the puff out. And you've got the product underneath inside the sponge. This is pretty pigmented, so if you're pale like me, you'll probably want to dip in your sponge and then tap it off on the back of your hand just so you don't get too much product. Okay, let's start doing that. And while I do that, I shall talk to you a little bit more. So, tap that off. Illness, it changes your life completely. And it also changes who you are as a person. And that change is pretty hard to accept. Now I should probably look in the mirror and check that I'm actually doing what I'm meant to be doing. Yeah, it's not easy to accept like that kind of seismic change in your life when you know it's not suddenly going to be able to be fixed and you're not going to be able to go back to how things were. It's, you know, it's permanent. That isn't easy to deal with, and it's been 11.5 years since I first got ill, but I'm still, you know, learning how to kind of cope with that and accept that change in my life. A bit more bronzer. And it's difficult to describe. So the easiest thing that I can really use to explain what it's like is to talk about mourning. Okay, so if you've ever loved and lost someone very close to you, you'll know what it's like to very deeply, you know, mourn for that person. It takes a long time mourning. There's the initial deep sadness or shock or numbness, and then there's anger. There's so many different emotions you go through when you mourn for somebody. Just check my camera's still filming, sometimes it has a little fit. And when you get sick with a chronic problem that's not going to go away, it's not going to get better, and you have to accept this kind of change in your life, it is a bit like the mourning process. But instead of losing someone who is close to you, it's like you're mourning for yourself. It's like you're mourning for a version of yourself, the person that you were before you got ill, and the person that you imagined that you would become. Because, you know, everyone in their life has an idea usually about where they're going, what they're going to do. Just, you know, casual assumptions that you have maybe in high school, that you're going to go to university, or you're going to do this, or you're going to, you know, date, get married, all these different things we just sort of take for granted about what's going to happen in the future of our lives. And we have this idea of who we're going to be as a person and what kind of life we're going to live. Now, when you get sick, chronically sick, that all changes. You don't just lose the person that you are because you go through all this very intense and difficult emotions that change you as a person, but you lose that future that you'd imagined. And you have to come to terms with the fact that your future is going to look very different. And accepting that is, yeah, the closest thing I can say is mourning, but it's like mourning for yourself, for that lost version of you. Back to the makeup for a sec. I am going to use the NYX Sculpt and Highlight little contouring thing. You've got your contouring shade on a wand on one side, and you've got a lighter shade if you want to highlight with a matte highlight on the other. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to add a little bit here on my cheekbone. Now, I don't put it right in the sort of dent. I put it just slightly above the dent because as I blend it, it's going to go down a little bit and I don't want to end up with it too low. I've already got bronzer up here, but I'm going to add just a little bit of contour, and I'm going to add a little bit of contour just here, just because I like to accentuate my cheekbones, but I like to sort of make my chin look a tiny bit smaller, just by contouring the underneath here. Right, do the top. This is a very easy product to use. It blends out very, very easily. I would definitely recommend it for beginners if you're not used to cream contour. And then I'm just going to swoosh this up backwards so that it meets my hairline. And then I'm going to blend it. And then I'm going to just sweep that away because I don't want it to get too thick down at the bottom, which is why I'm moving backwards with the product. Okay, how's that doing? Might add just a tiny bit more under that cheekbone. And back to blending. And we really want to push any contour back into the hairline just so that it doesn't look unnatural. I don't tend to contour my nose just because I have quite a sharp, narrow nose to begin with. I don't really want to make it look any narrower. And I'm going to add just a little bit of the highlight here above the brow, here, just a little bit on the Cupid's bow. And go in with the part of the sponge that is not brown from the contour, very important. And I'm just going to blend that out. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to go in with my concealer now that the colour corrector has time to dry down. This is my new favourite. This is the Secret Key Miracle Fit Essence Concealer. It has SPF 30, so it's very good for the summer and, well, for all year round really, because you want to stop those under eye wrinkles forming. And it's a nice hydrating formula, so if you're like me, you have slightly dry under eyes, I really recommend this. Now, back to what I was talking about. I'm not unhappy, I am happy. And mostly right now my life is going well. I've got a few problems, my heart rate's gone all funny and a few things like that. There's always something basically when you have a chronic illness. But even in your good days, you still have to manage your condition. It's something that is an everyday thing. You can't ever really forget about your illness because it does take management. It takes thinking very carefully, just sort of on an everyday basis. about how much energy you have, prioritizing what do you really need to do, what would you like to do, what are the things that maybe aren't that important in terms of your job, etc., but that are important to you. So, you know, spending time with a partner, spending time with your friends, all of this you kind of have to plan and think, how much energy do I have? When am I going to wash my hair? What am I going to eat? Do I need to cook something? Do I need to go to the supermarket? Because everything takes energy, and you're always aware of where your energy level is and what you have left to do, and you're constantly planning and amending. And so last minute plans, I should blend this concealer before it completely dries. Last minute plans, I can't really do. If someone suggests doing something last minute, even if it sounds really fun and I'd really like to, usually it's not really going to be an option, just because I haven't allocated in my daily plan energy for that, right? And, you know, it does change the way you live your life a great deal. Blend, 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 blend. I have to go back in later and like clean up a nice straight line down the middle of my face. Ugh. Okay. Yeah, so planning every day, blah 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 blah. Where is makeup important? Because after all, this video is about makeup and the power of makeup and what makeup means to me. So let's get into that a little bit. When you have a chronic health condition that doctors can't fix and there's no treatment, no pill that they can give you that's going to make things better, you have to look for other things that give you that feeling of being yourself, you know? You're not going to be able to return to the person that you were when you were healthy, but you have to have little things in your life that are self-care, that make you feel like that person again, and that help you accept the sort of new person that you've become. And what makeup can do, which no pill can, is make me feel healthy. I know that sounds really crazy, and obviously it doesn't cure my tiredness or anything like that. But when I look in the mirror sometimes, it's like I don't see Faye, me, the person. Sometimes I see the illness, like I can see it peeking through my face. I mean, on good days, I can't really see it. On bad days, I can kind of, it's almost like I can see the shadow of it there behind what I look like. And when I put on makeup, I'm taking that away, you know. I'm making that person in the mirror just me, just Faye, not the illness peeking out behind in the background, reminding me about it all the time. I'm, you know, making myself look healthy, and being able to look in the mirror and see a bright, healthy looking face looking back at me makes me feel better. Let's put on a little bit of cream blush. Where is it? Here it is. I am going to use the Gosh Lumi Drops. This is the shade 010 Coral Blush. And I'm going to put it on the back of my hand and then apply it with my sponge, just like everything else. Yeah, so no tablet, no medical treatment can give me that, can make me feel like healthy and look healthy in the way that makeup can make me look healthy. And I tell you what else is interesting that I find when I put on makeup. It's almost like I'm reclaiming my body. Now, that probably sounds a little bit strange, so I'll go into that a little bit. When you have something that happens to you, whether it's an accident or an illness, something that changes your life, changes you, changes what you're able to do, you didn't have control over that. That sort of happened to you, right? This happened to me. I couldn't control it. I couldn't do anything about it. And that's not easy. But when I put on my makeup, it's like I'm taking my body back for myself. It's something that I am in control of. It's my skin and I can do with it and do what to it, that didn't make sense, that I please. Basically, I can do anything that I can please. I can make myself look any way I want to, whether that's dramatic or natural or sexy or really bold or whatever it is that I'm feel like I want to do that day. I have complete control over that in a way that I can't control my illness and I can't control other things that happen in my life. Let's add a little bit more blush. And, you know, I've talked to other people who have illnesses, disabilities, chronic conditions. And I've heard them express the same thing about makeup and also about tattoos. Now, I'm not recommending that if you're sick you just go out and get a tattoo, but getting a tattoo, you know, you're permanently doing something to your body that you chose to do, that was your choice, it was no one else's. And again, it has this very powerful feeling like you're reclaiming your body and your skin for yourself. You are taking control over something. And that control has previously kind of been taken away from you by your illness. And so seizing that back is a very empowering experience. And back to makeup again. I'm going to put on a little highlight now, a creamer highlight. It is another Gosh Lumi Drops. This is the shade Vanilla, onto the back of my hand. I love highlight. I love everything about highlight. I love dewy finishes. I love glowy skin. I like skin that looks like skin. So I tend to avoid too many heavy powders and things like that that make the skin look a bit unnatural. And use a lot of cream products that create more of a natural glow. Because yeah, a lot about this for me is giving myself that really healthy, fresh, youthful look. And that is what I'm after mostly from my makeup. Because sometimes I look a bit green or a bit grey or a bit sallow, or just I look completely exhausted sometimes. And that exhaustion, it really shows on my face. And I don't really want to look at that every time I see myself in the mirror. I don't want a visual reminder of how exhausted I am. I can already feel how exhausted I am. So yeah, that sort of natural dewy glow is really my kind of favourite thing. And I will put highlighter pretty much everywhere, to be honest. And I won't just be using liquid highlighter. I will be using a little powder highlighter over the top just to give it a big pow. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm done with cream products at this point, apart from, have I got a cream eyeshadow? Was I going to use a cream eyeshadow? No, I wasn't going to use a cream eyeshadow. So I am going to put a little powder over the top. I usually like to add a little bit of powder just to give a little bit of extra colour, and grab a brush, give a little bit of extra oomph. So I'm going to take this Milani Baked blush in Luminoso. This is a cult product. Everyone's heard of this product here on YouTube, so I'm just going to dab that in. I like to use quite a big brush for my blush. I tend to use a powder brush rather than a blush brush, just because I have quite an angular face, and so I like my blush to be a bit more gentle and dispersed and less focused. So I tend to use a powder blush. This one is powder brush. Oh my god. This one is from Revlon. So I'm just going to pat this very gently over where I've placed that cream blush. And then I'm going to do more of the same with other products. So I'm going to take a fan brush and a highlighter. This is the highlighting palette in Solstice from Sleek Makeup. Very nice little palette. It's got 3 powder, let's get this little brush out, don't need that. It's got 3 powder shades and 1 cream shade. Don't really use the cream shade that much, but I do like the powder shades, and I tend to mix this one and this one together. Tap a little bit, so it's not too over the top, and then I'm going to just pop that on there. I said this before, I love highlight. It just makes me feel better. Like, I look in the mirror and I'm seeing like, light. And it makes me happy. Sparkly things make me happy. I'm like a magpie. I've decided I'm also going to add a little extra shine to my blush using this highlighter from Makeup Geek. This is their Duochrome highlight in Psychedelic. So it just looks kind of white when you open it, but it has like a pinky peach shift, which is really pretty as a blush topper, or if you have a deeper skin tone, it will look really lovely as a highlight. It's too coloured for a highlight for my pale skin, but I just dunk my brush in there, tap it a little bit. And it just adds a bit of glow as you move your face. That was probably too fast for you to see. Anyway, okay, and to top it off, a little bit of powder bronzer. This is the Kiko bronzer in shade 104. It has a bronzer sticker on it just because a lot of their black palettes look the same. And it's annoying when you're trying to look for things. So, the brush, the bronzer. I'm just going to blend that down the neck just to make sure that I don't have like a bronze face and then a really pale neck, because that would be unfortunate. I'm also going to use a bit of Kiko face powder. This is Radiant Fusion powder in shade 02. So it's a tinted powder, it's not a translucent powder. And I'm just going to set any areas of my face that I haven't applied powder to already, except for my under eye where I will use translucent powder. I like to set down my makeup with powder just because even though I like a glowy finish, I don't like being sticky. Like, being sticky really bugs me. I hate if my hair sticks to my face. So I'm just going to apply this under here, around there, and a little bit on the forehead as well. Take a bit more powder and just put that here. Generally make sure everything is not sticky. Then I'm going to go in under my eyes with the Gosh Prime and Set Loose Setting Powder. I'm a big fan of this powder. It doesn't, I found, like, I used the NYX like one of these, and it changed the colour of my concealer, made it look really dark, which is really annoying, but this Gosh one does not do that, thankfully. So I'm just going to roll this brush, this is another Real Techniques brush, in powder, and then I'm going to just, well, first I'm actually going to make sure don't have any little creases under here that I'm going to set into place. Go back in with this for a second and just make sure that's okay, and then I'm going to just set that with powder. Yep. Just brush that off, make sure it's all nicely set down, and there we have the under eyes set. Now that the base is done, before I move on to eyes, let's have a little bit more of a chat. So the other thing about being able to put on makeup and not look sick is that when I go out and about my day, see people, do normal things like go to the supermarket, all very boring, I don't look like I'm about to pass out. And the thing is, when you're ill and people know that you're ill and you see people and they ask you how you are and they ask if you're okay, and if you look particularly bad that day they're going to ask how you are. And don't get me wrong, I really appreciate all my friends and my family and my loved ones who are concerned about me and want me to be okay and, you know, ask me how I'm doing, because when they ask if I'm okay, they're not just doing the hey, you okay and expecting a yeah, I'm fine. They're genuinely asking, and I appreciate that. And, you know, it's nice to have people who care and who want to know, really, are you okay? But also, it can be hard to deal with that on a daily basis. Every time someone asks me if I'm okay, honestly, the answer is usually no. Or even if it's yes, it's still a yes by my standards, which is not a yes by normal standards, it's a yes by my ill person standards. And when I have to answer the questions, are you okay, or you don't look very well, how are you doing, you sure you're okay, and I have to answer that, I have to think about it. And I have to think about the fact that actually no, I'm not okay. And I'm sure you can understand it's not something I always want to think about or have to deal with. Sometimes I want to look healthy, and I want to go about my day and do nice things and have a good time and just do normal stuff and not have to answer questions about how I feel. Like recently, recently I had to go to a funeral, very sad, and I put on my nice dress and I did my makeup very nicely. I wanted to look polished, and basically the person whose funeral it was always, someone who was dressed just right, someone who always presented themselves very neatly and cared about that kind of thing, so I wanted to look nice for this funeral and for seeing the family, and people would say to me, oh, you look really well, oh, I'm glad you're doing okay. And sometimes, even if that's not true, it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear someone say, oh, you're looking better, or you look like you're doing better, or you're looking well. Those are nice things to hear. Sometimes they're not true, sometimes they are true. But either way, sometimes it's nice to get that response from people. And, I get that response from people through using my makeup to make myself look healthy, and like my skin has a glow, and like there's some colour to my face and all those kinds of things, and to make me look like I'm not tired, and it's nice. It's nice to hear that sometimes, that you look well, even if you feel like crap, you look nice. Sometimes that's good to hear. Let's move on to some eyeshadow. I have here the Makeup Revolution Ultra Eye Contour Light and Shade, which I'm pretty sure is just meant to be a dupe of the Shade and Light Kat Von D palette. As you can see, it has lots of neutral matte shades in here, and a little brush, which I haven't ever used before. I probably won't use. I tend to use my own brushes rather than the things that come in packets, because my brushes that I buy separately are usually better. So first of all, I'm going to go into this neutral shade here and just completely set down the eyelid. It's good to apply a matte base that's just a neutral shade to your eye. It gives the other colours something to sort of nicely blend on top of, makes blending out your crease easier. So now I need a smaller crease brush. Come to me, brushes. What do I want? This one will do. Make sure it's not covered in other product. Seems to be okay. And I'm going to go into this peachy shade here at the end, just as a transition shade. So I'm going for a sort of warm, neutral, slightly smoky look. I'm going to go into this shade here, this brown, with a different brush, something that's a little bit denser. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of product and I'm going to take it off. There's quite a lot of kick up from these, if you see what I mean, but they're very pigmented and they're very cheap, so I don't really mind. Go back in with that first brush that had the base shade on and just blend all of that together. And using the other end of the brush, I'm going to go back into that same sort of darker warm brown shade, and I'm going to take it underneath the eye, just on the outer corners here, not taking it all the way underneath. I'm just taking it sort of midway. And I'm taking it up into a slightly sort of winged look, but nothing really harsh. Then I'm going to go into an even darker colour. I'm going to go into this shade here. I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to just dip that in, tap it off, and then just work on the outer V here. Basically, when you do a smoky look, you just want to gradually build up darker and darker shades. So the lighter shade all over, the next one sort of on 3/4 or in the crease, the next bit a bit further out, then a bit further out, then a bit further out, just so that it gets darker towards the outer edge of the eye. And I'm again going to use the other end to put a bit of that darker shade underneath, but just on the outer third there. And I'm going to blend that up. And just sort of blend that out slightly on the lower lash line. Okay. And then you guessed it, an even darker shade. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of this black here. I'm going to, again, just take the same brush, just dip it in very gently, make sure it's well tapped off, and go right on the outer V. A little bit into the crease, and then just gradually blend it in. Take that first brush again, just blend slightly, and then the other end again into the black, give it a tap, and onto the lower lash line right at the edge here. And I'm going to press it into the upper lash line as well. Okie dokie. Then I'm going to go back into this brown just to blend onto the lid slightly. Righty-ho. Again, first brush. Just blend that lid. And smoky. Now, I was going to leave it matte, but I've decided I want a little bit of shiny, shiny shimmer. So I'm going to take this L'Oreal shadow in nude. It's a very, what's it called? Golden nude, sorry. Shade 204. It's very pretty. Gold, as you can see from the dents in it, it's a very soft shadow. So I'm going to just go in with a clean finger. And then I'm going to press it just onto the centre and inner part of the lid. Just to add a little bit of glitter. I'm going to add a touch more just to build up that colour slightly. And these are really, really lovely single eyeshadows. They have quite a few shades. I'd really recommend them. Right, I like that, bit of sparkle. And then for the inner corner, I'm going to go back to a cream actually. This is the Gosh Contour Cover Conceal. So these are little sticks that come in a variety of shades. You can get plain concealer type ones, you can get dark ones if you want to use them for contouring. This is a highlighty kind of one. So if I put it on my hand here, you can see there it's a sort of nude highlight, and I'm just going to pop this into the inner corner. There we are. Before I go on to my brows, I'm going to go back to talking about why makeup is important to me. Not just to me, actually, to other people, because my mum, she's involved in this thing called Looking Good, Feeling Better, and it's where makeup sort of beauty professionals and ex-professionals work with patients who have cancer, and they give them this sort of big bag of makeup and skincare goodies, and they have a workshop where they teach them how to use them. And obviously when you have cancer and you have treatment, there are very specific things that you might want to do with your makeup. For example, draw on your brows, because you lose your brow hairs sometimes. Like when you lose the hair on your head, you can also lose your brows. And not having any brows is quite an odd look. Like, brows are such a tiny thing, but if they're not there, sometimes it can look quite strange. And also, it's a big marker, it's a big thing that shouts out, there is something wrong with me, whether it's cancer or alopecia or whatever reason. It kind of identifies you as someone who is sick. And it also is one of those things where people look in the mirror, and again, like I'm talking about, you look in the mirror and you see your illness rather than just seeing you, the person. You can look in the mirror and you see the illness. And so for these people with cancer, they can, again, use skincare and makeup products to try and liven up the skin, make it a little more healthy, give it a glow, give it some colour with some bronzer and some blusher, and they can draw on their brows so that they look normal, healthy to other people and also for themselves. It's not about all the other people out there. I think that's what's important for people to realise. Sometimes people think that we wear makeup for other people, but we're wearing makeup for ourselves. It makes us feel better. And being able to look in the mirror, I'm sure you can imagine, if you have cancer, you've lost your hair, you can get a wig, okay, that's one thing. But having makeup to do your brows and to make you look like you have brows again is quite a big deal. It sounds like such a tiny thing, but it really means something to these people. And I wouldn't want to say I understand, because obviously I don't understand what it's like to have cancer, but I understand what it is to be able to use your makeup in order to make your reflection, to make yourself look like the person that you remember, to make you look like the person that you feel that you are. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. Let's go back to makeup and do some brows. Now, fair warning, I am not good at doing brows on camera, and I am not good at doing brows while I talk. So this may be a little bit silent while I try and do my brows without making a complete mess. Brows are, my brows are fine in terms of their shape. I like the shape of my brows, but the hair is quite sparse, so they're not particularly noticeable. I do have to darken them up and fill them in, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. I really like this pencil. It has a spoolie on one end, and on the other end it has a twist up brow pencil that's nice and narrow, and you don't have to sharpen it. Woo! Lazy makeup. I'm going to concentrate for a second. I'm going to speed this up so that we're not here forever, because watching someone do their brows is, ooh, drop my pencil. It's not the most interesting thing to watch, let's admit it. Got my pencil back. This is the point where I usually do my fixing spray. I like to do this before my brow mascara or my regular mascara, just so that they don't sort of smudge everywhere. So let's put some spray on. This is the Insta Fix and Go from Rimmel. It is a no good, bog standard, affordable setting spray, and it smells like cucumber. Don't open your mouth, it does not taste good. But it works well, and it's nice and affordable, and I really like it. And for a cheap spray bottle, it has a really good mister, so I would recommend this. Oh, eyeliner. I'm gonna just pop a bit of eyeliner onto my upper waterline. What is this? This is the LA Girl Endless Semi-Permanent Auto Eyeliner. This is the shade Dark Grey, and I'm just gonna pop this to my upper lash line. I don't really want a noticeable line on top of my... There we go. That's all I wanted. And I'm also going to apply a bit of nude eyeliner to the lower lash line. This just covers any redness that I get around my eyes. Just makes them look a little bit brighter, makes me look a bit more awake. There we go, that was the Inner Eye Brightener pen by Makeup Revolution, another cheap, affordable, good product. Brow mascara. What else was I wanting to talk about that I haven't said? Let's do my brow mascara and then I'll worry about what else I wanted to say. This is another NYX product, their tinted brow mascara. I use the shade Brunette. So, nice little spoolie thing. I'm going to dip off the end because I don't like... Sometimes you get excess product on the tip and then you go to do your brows and you end up with like a big splodge and it's not a good look. Voila. Pretentious French words. And eyelashes. I use a electronic-y rechargeable heated eyelash curler, and this one is called Go. I got it off Amazon. You plug it in, it has a USB on one end, and then you set it. The red means it's heating up, and then you use it to curl your eyelashes. I won't do this on camera because it takes a while. It takes longer than using a regular eyelash curler, but sometimes, I don't know if it's like the shape or the curvature of my eye, but sometimes when I try and use an eyelash curler, I accidentally pinch the skin like here, and it really flipping hurts. Like, it is not pleasant. So I tend to go for this heated one instead, but I'll do it off camera because it takes a little while. One thing I just realised I forgot to do before was just put a little powder on top of that cream inner corner highlight. I'm going to use this little loose one from Helen E. So all I'm going to do actually is just use my finger, just dip it in this powder, get a nice little blob, and then just pop that on top there. It's a very sparkly powder, this. I mean, you could use it, I think, as a highlight, but it would be more of a glittery, going out kind of highlight. I usually avoid really glittery things as highlights, but I do like a nice bit of shine to the inner corner. So, there we go. Sparkles. Now I'm going to put on a little bit of a mascara. This is the Kiko Extra Sculpt Waterproof Mascara. Because I'm tired a lot of the time, I find my eyes water, just like when I get really tired. So I always go for waterproof mascara. Let's try and put this on without making a mess. I always get nervous when I put on mascara. And it's like, you've done everything and you really don't want to ruin it by making a big mascara splodge. Where's the other end of my mascara? got it. Did I get a little blob somewhere? I probably did. I usually do. Yeah, that'll do. It's fine. I use a different one on my lower lash line. This is the Innisfree Skinny Waterproof Microcara. It is a very tiny little wand. I don't apply mascara all the way to the ends of my lower lashes because my lower lashes are actually really long and I tend to get little spots everywhere. Like, I'll put mascara on and then I'll put translucent powder on my lashes to try and set the mascara down and stop it transferring, and then usually like after half an hour it'll transfer anyway. So I tend to stick to just putting this right at the base of the lashes just to add a little bit of definition. There we are. And then the last thing to do is lips. Okay, lips. I have another Gosh product. I really love this. This is the Velvet Touch Lip Liner. It is waterproof. This is the shade Antique Rose. There we are. Looks really weird putting lip product on like half my lips. And lipstick to finish off. This is the Nude Pop lipstick by Clinique. I'm a big fan of Clinique makeup and Clinique skincare. Just Clinique everything. I think they're such a good brand. And these lip pop ones are just lovely, particularly if you have dry, like flaky kind of lips like I do. I find these look really smooth and they don't highlight any kind of flaky grossness. And that, I think, is it. I don't really think there's anything to do apart from clean this like nice smart line down the middle of my face. So I'm gonna go do that. Right, so here we have the finished look. It's harder using a makeup wipe to make a straight line down the middle of your face than you'd think it would be. It's actually quite difficult. So I've taken half my hair down just so it looks even more different left to right. Here you can see my made up side. Come a little closer. It's not that I don't like this side, don't get me wrong. I mean, I go out like this all the time. Like, I probably wear makeup less days than I don't wear makeup. Like, most days I don't actually wear any makeup. And I go out like this and I'm fine and I'm totally confident going out like this. It's not that I don't want people to see this side of me. This side is totally fine. But I also love this side. And some days it's really nice to be able to go out looking fully sort of prepped and ready for the day and all sparkly and glowy and like I made an effort and like I have a nice blush and my skin looks healthy and I've got a bit of a glow with the bronzer, and it's nice. And so really what I wanted to say with this video is that people wear makeup for lots of different reasons. Makeup often is thought of something that is trivial or unimportant, and you know, I can see that it's not as important as, you know, saving lives or whatever. But what is the point of life if you're not happy, right? Like, we can think about all these important things, but at the end of the day, we need to look after ourselves and we need to be happy and confident and feel good in our skin. And makeup can play a big role there, particularly if you have some kind of health problem, illness, disability, or even just really bad acne, for example. Something that means that when you look in the mirror, you see that problem, you see that illness or that disease or whatever it is that you've got going on. You're seeing that instead of what you feel is your true self. And applying makeup, it takes back control. You're taking back control of your body, of your skin, of the way that you look, from something horrible that took all that control away from you, and you can't do anything about that. You just have to live with that. But you can do this small thing to put yourself in charge of the way you look. And just to be able to look in the mirror and be like, oh, I look nice today. That can help. That, you know, it can really help, like, sort of psychologically when you're going through something horrible, to at least feel like you look good and that you chose the way that you look. So it's fighting your illness. It's a way of fighting your illness, of living with your illness, and of making life easier. And that's not a trivial thing, you know, that's not trivial. So really, I wanted to say, don't judge without thinking or understanding. I mean, it's something we all do. We all judge without really knowing. But when people who wear makeup get judged and assumed, like, to be stupid or vain or insecure, or like they're only wearing makeup for boys, like, that's judging. That's judging without really knowing or understanding what that person's going through, what they're living with, and what they're using makeup for, like, why they're doing this. Like, the motivation behind why you do something, like, is an important part. It's not just the end result. It's about why you do it. And a lot of people, they do it for themselves to feel better, and that's what I do. So yeah, that's the end. This is probably going to be a very long and rambly video, but that was my take on the power of makeup. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.